Good morning. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin TMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. I want to thank Target Marketing Magazine for inviting me to be a regular contributor. And today we're going to launch Target Tuesday, where I'm going to attempt to do a more tightly crafted morning show that I can adapt into something worth printing. I think I've got the whole system down. YouTube transcribes these shows, and it takes a bunch of editing. But I think with a 10-minute show, I'll have enough content to get going. So let's dive in and talk about epistomarketing. Here we go. Okay, there it is, epistomarketing. Most of you know that I have a master's in philosophy from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. What the heck does that have to do with marketing? Well, what I studied was philosophy of science and how we know what we know, epistemology. And what I've learned over the years is that most people in marketing don't worry much about what they know for sure. If they have a little bit of a suspicion, an inkling, an angle, a niche, a pitch, anything, a glimmer of hope, they'll pound the death out of it. But there's a better way. And I've been intrigued by the process of direct marketing, of testing, of heuristic systems. Scott Adams says it's better to have a system than a goal. And we're going to learn about how to build a system in marketing where you continue to get smarter over and over and over, and how to apply that even to brands, big brands, retail, to all areas of marketing. You can keep getting smarter and smarter and outdistance your competition. Are we going to end up at machine learning? Probably. But that's just a tactic in the strategy of an ongoing system that I'm calling epistomarketing. So let's see what we can figure out. Okay, how do we know anything in marketing, right? That's a big question. Today I want to talk about the war between art and science, why it exists, and it's not just in marketing. In fact, I was listening to Jordan Peterson this week, and his show was about basically the contrast between postmodern materialism, based largely on scientific, it's not really theories, not hypotheses, but it's sort of a common view of what science is as opposed to religion and ethics. There's this sort of tension between what we think of as our internal feelings and the hard data of science. The pendulum has swung somewhat toward hard data in marketing, and yet article after article says we should be more attuned to the creative side, that's the holy grail, because it'll break through and get attention. So how do we figure that out? Well, right now, as I said, much of the focus is on data, that somehow data will give us knowledge. It's not true. Data is not self-revealing. Data is dull, dumb straw that you put under an animal to catch what comes out of an animal. We need context. We need proper context. We need to isolate what is important. We need simulation, if you will, just like we do in science. When we run a scientific experiment, we don't collect all the data that's possible. And in fact, there may well be an infinite amount of data on any particular experiment or artifact even. There's probably an infinite amount of data on this pen. And you say, that's ridiculous. Oh, yeah? How far is this pen from the center of the earth? What percentage of the mass of this pen is the mass of the surface of the earth? What's the distance between this and the center of the sun? How far is the creation of this pen from the Big Bang? Get it? Okay. What's been written by this pen? How does what's been written by this pen compare with all the other things that have been written by pens in the universe? What percentage of pens does this one pen represent of all the pens in existence? You say, oh, that's silly. That's nonsense. That's data. That's what data is like. All of those things could be variables about the pen. I'm not going to bore you with coming up. I can keep coming up with them all day long. And the fact that you haven't does not mean that your data is better than mine. It just means you're not as creative, not as twisted. Okay, let's go on. So we're going to talk about the basics. When I was in an ad agency, which was primarily a very creative, famous for its creativity, general agency, they would say things like, we want breakthrough creative. When I ran a creative team, we did about 24 separate catalogs, separate titles a year. The artist said, we don't create to a time clock. We changed that a little. You hear article after article. We have to have branding. We have to have image. We have to have customer experience. And when I started at the agency, we won 5 out of 5 pitches. And I kept talking about direct marketing. I kept talking about testing. And they said, well, actually, in those days, I talked about measurable advertising, which is still the most common definition, though I've never thought it was worth its salt. And Bob Stone agreed with me. They said, what's the difference between what you're pitching and what we're pitching? I said, well, direct marketing is about measurement. And they said, well, we measure. We run an ad and sales go up or sales go down. Never mind it could be the weather. Never mind it could be competitive forces. It could be all kinds of things. It's very difficult to understand what happened, especially when it goes down. And you think, gee, we just did all these ads. And we can talk about that today. See, the trouble is that there's about, we're not even talking about the tacit knowledge. We're talking about the explicit knowledge. But explicit knowledge, which is things like data, information, documents, records, files, orders, that kind of stuff, is only about 5% of all the knowledge, which is experience, thought, competence, commitment, context, emotional response. And so we're not even scratching the scratch, right? And we're hoping that AI can get through to that. Okay, great. Yeah, that's a great idea. We have in business decision making, we have the told, we have the explicit, which says this is what I know for sure. This is what I'm told for sure. Then we have the implicit. This is things I believe are true, but I'm not going to admit to them yet. And even more so, here's the tacit. Here's things I feel, and I'm not going to tell you. There's an old story about a focus group where they asked women which variety, they had a variety of scarves, and which ones they would buy. And they all talked about which ones they liked, and it went all over the place. And then at the end, they had a table, and they had them spread out nicely, and they said, just take whichever one you like. And just one, but take whichever one. And it turned out that data actually matched what the sales ended up being. Because people won't tell you what they believe, because people don't always know what they believe, and people don't always know how they feel. Right? I don't. You don't. So what do? Well, what I've done is I've created a map, and I've taken some of the best cartoon or commercials of all time, and I've got measurement precision. How do we measure? How much do we measure? Do we even try to measure? what are we measuring? How well do we set it up? And I've got a spectrum here from where we don't really care at all. And we've got the tacit, the feelings, and we've got the explicit. And my worst ad ever that you can probably remember, there was two little old ladies, and they went to a burger place, and they said, "Where's the beef?" And the funny part about it was, it caught on. It was everybody. It got to be a socially a social commentary on how you're not getting your money's worth. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was Burger King. But sales went down, and they just let it die. And there was another ad. It was for Alka-Seltzer, I believe, and it was, "I can't believe I ate the whole thing." And again, sales went down. And there have been lots of theories about it. AT&T right now is running a whole series of ads about just okay is not okay. And I believe that's damaging their brand. Because in our minds, we associate the negativity of the ad with the brand. Even though they're saying, "We're not like this," in your head, you say, "Oh, just okay is AT&T." Think about that next time it runs. And it's running. They've spent millions and tens of millions on this campaign. And they keep pounding that just okay is AT&T. It's going to die. Okay? But they're not, I don't think they're really measuring its impact because it's branding. They just want to do a commercial. Now, Miller, great taste, less filling, they were trying to accomplish a new category, and it became their premier brand, Miller Lite. It worked great. But it wasn't because they measured so much. It was because light beer had been around for 50 years, and it made it happen. Well, we're going to talk about this tension, right? We're going to talk about this tension between how we set it up and what we can even measure. Can we measure the internal emotions of the marketplace? It's very difficult, much more difficult. And Google announced in 2017 that they didn't understand the context of emails, so they were going to stop reading your emails. Very helpful. I wish more marketers would stop measuring what they're measuring. So there's this war. And, there's all kinds of articles out where big data fails and why. Oracle Big Data Study shows lifetime pain, web analytics, and other dismal science. And here's a link to those sources. The boss says to Hopkins, "It would appear, Hopkins, that your gut feel was only indigestion." It's difficult to measure. Gut feel is difficult to measure. And yet, as we lose track of the foundational principles, we only have our gut feel. C.S. Lewis makes that argument in The Abolition of Man. So that's enough for today. Hopefully this makes it to the launch article in Target Marketing. Look for me on Target Marketing Magazine on a weekly basis. But you'll see it here first, though it may not be quite as tight. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Like and share. I think your friends will think you're smart. Bye-bye.